This is Steve Adubato, and thank you so much for joining us. We are honored to be joined by a gentleman I wake up to just about every day, with a lot of other people as well waking up to me. He is Jim Sciutto, and he is co-anchor of CNN Newsroom every morning from 9 to 11 a.m. daily. Also CNN's chief national security correspondent and the author of a compelling book, really good stuff. It is called Madman Theory, Trump Takes on the World. Jim, great to have you on public broadcasting.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Same here. The premise of the book, by the way, we're taping this at the end of the summer 2020. We'll show this even after the election. We don't know how it's going to go. Why is this? What's the premise and why is it significant?
The premise is that Donald Trump promised to be a president who was going to disrupt, right? And that he was going to disrupt with a plan, with a strategy, that his madman, the unpredictable president, was going to keep everyone off balance, swoop in at the end with a deal that was going to be better for all of us, right? He didn't call it the Madman Theory, but as I watched
Nixon did back in the day.
Yeah. As I watched him lead the country for 4 years, it reminded me of Nixon, who owned the Madman Theory. Famously, during the Vietnam War, he had Kissinger in no uncertain terms communicate to North Vietnam. He was just mad enough to launch a nuclear strike on North Vietnam. He wasn't, but it was part of a strategy to get them to
think?
Get them to think and give up some leverage in negotiations and hopefully end that war on better terms. As you know, the strategy didn't work. Nixon still owned it. H.R. Haldeman writes about it in his memoirs. 50 years later, we have a president who comes in with a similar promise saying, I'm going to keep everybody off balance. I know what I'm doing here. I'm going to turn it all around for us. The thing about Trump is that his Madman Theory, he was just as likely to unleash it on allies as adversaries. Think of our relations with NATO allies, the threats he's made to them, or to South Korea. If you don't pay more, 5 times more for the deployment, I'll yank the troops. Or Canada, right? Declaring them a national security threat, imposing steel tariffs. So just as likely to use this against enemies as friends, and I write about this a lot in the book, his own advisors. They didn't know what he was going to do next. And that created enormous upset and confusion within the running of this country on its most sensitive national security issues.
So Jim, let me twist this a little bit or frame it a little differently. I'm a student of leadership, write about leadership, teach about it. I'm a student of Donald Trump's leadership style. So here's what I'm going to ask you. Outside of politics, yeah, there's an election. We don't know who's going to win. It could be Trump. It could be Joe Biden. From a leadership perspective, what do you believe Donald Trump's leadership around the world has done to impact our position as a country around the world, regardless of whether he wins or not, or loses or not?
Trump claims that the world respects us again. The record contradicts that, and his own advisors contradict that. Let's talk about his relationships with other authoritarian leaders. The president has a remarkable admiration, affinity for Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping, Erdogan of Turkey. Do they view him as uniquely strong or intimidating? Based on their actions and decisions, no. Erdogan made 2 phone calls to Trump and got him to do what he wanted him to do, withdraw U.S. troops from Syria, contradicting U.S. policy, abandoning an ally, undermining the fight against ISIS. Putin, after 4 years, despite the president's claims of no one's been tougher on Russia than Trump, which, by the way, is belied by the record and his own advisors, Putin is more aggressive, not less aggressive, 4 years later. North Korea's nuclear program is bigger, not smaller, than it was 4 years ago. They have more nukes, more advanced ballistic missile program, and they're more capable of putting a miniaturized nuke on the tip of a warhead. China, and yes, the president deserves credit, and I write about this in the book, for finally standing up to a whole host of Chinese misbehavior, but China is more aggressive, not less aggressive. So when you look at the record, the before and after, his claim that the world respects him and us again, it's belied by the record.
So say for a second, Joe Biden does become the next president, how much of what you argue in the Madman Theory, Trump takes on the world, A, will Biden need to undo? And more importantly, would he even be able to undo and improve?
It's an open question, right? Because confidence is hard to gain, but easily lost. It's hard to build back up again. And the president, trust, exactly. The president has raised questions about things that were decades in the building. For instance, the solidity of the NATO alliance, right? Here were nations who for decades promised to defend each other, that an attack on you is an attack on all of us. By the way, last time NATO invoked that Article 3 was after 9/11 in defense of the US. The president has publicly raised questions about that commitment, the US commitment to that, which has led our closest NATO allies, Germany and France, say, we can't rely on the US anymore. Now, a new president can say, whether in 3 months or 4 years, we are back in this alliance, but our allies and even our adversaries might say, for how long, right? Until the next election? How do we know? The US signed an international agreement with Iran over its nuclear deal, whatever you think about it, right? That was with America's allies and China and Russia. Let's say Biden possibly says, okay, let's get back into the deal. What is their guarantee, they might reasonably ask, that this will last more than 4 years to the next election? It raises real questions that may be difficult to correct in short order.
When it comes to international affairs, it seems to me that leadership is, and you wrote the book, so I'm just going to ask it this way. Disruption, when it comes to leadership around the world as the United States president, it's not the same as disruption in media and innovation and creativity. Be a disruptor. It's not the same. You want to be a stabilizer, or do I have that, and have I framed that in too simplistic a way?
No, I think there are definitely commonalities, but in either sphere, business or geopolitics, you got to have a plan if you're going to disrupt. And as it played out under Trump, it was disruption without a plan. It was disruption for disruption's sake.
Just for the sake of disruption.
Well, or based on President Trump's supreme confidence that he has it figured out or will figure it out. But again, the record doesn't support that. I mean, look at North Korea. The president tried both fire and fury and a love affair with Kim Jong-un. And 4 years later, we come out, Kim Jong-un has more nukes, not fewer nukes. And throughout, he was defying the advice of his advisors. But he went forward because he knew better. Well, as the record shows, he didn't know better on the pandemic as well. He knew better that this was not a real crisis here. Everyone, I mean, even the loyalists in his administration were warning him, Peter Navarro among them, but he didn't listen. And he turned out to be wrong. So disruption can be necessary at times. And I write about this in the book. There are things that certainly hadn't worked under previous presidents, but what has Trump replaced them with? Where's the record of success? It's hard to find that on many of these fronts.
The relationship that the media has with Trump, Trump has with the relationship between Trump and the media, the whole enemy of the people thing, how does that make you feel on a professional and a personal level?
Personally, my attitude is I don't care. Because
you don't care what he says.
Well, I care what it means for my country, and I'll get to that. But for me personally, I'm going to forge ahead. I have a job to do. I believe in it. I've done my best throughout my career to hold leaders accountable, whatever their party. So I'll keep going forward. For my country, I'm genuinely concerned, right? Because the attacks work. They undermine people's confidence, not just in a free media, freedom of the press, but also in the very existence of facts. You know, this alternative facts environment, you know, this is an assault on all facts in a way. And there's something Soviet about it, Steve. I got to tell you, it goes back, because if nothing, you know, if we're not sure about anything, then nothing's true. And you see this all the time. I mean, we had Larry Kudlow on the other day talking about economic effects of this. And, you know, we were quoting economic figures. And he says, well, you've got your economic professors, I have mine. Peter Navarro, on hydroxychloroquine. We're quoting the FDA on this doesn't work in the study. Well, you've got your studies, I've got mine. Well, no, that's not true. There are truths, but in this environment, there aren't anymore. It's just my facts and your facts. And you can't run a company on that if you don't have agreed upon business statistics, right? You can't run a country if you can't agree upon facts.
After writing the book, after reporting every day, by the way, let me remind people every day they can check you out from 9 to 11, Monday through Friday, right?
Yep, that's right.
Reason that you are optimistic moving forward, regardless of how this election plays out, regardless of, again, cross our fingers about the pandemic, a vaccine that works, that is reliable, that is accessible, et cetera, et cetera. Reason why you, being in journalism every day, reporting on behalf of CNN every day, with all the things going on in the world, long-winded question, why are you optimistic? Or are you not?
I am optimistic by nature. I know there exist, and I meet them and speak to them every day. People around this country, in every walk of life, in every industry, are good people and want, have their heart in the right place and want to do the right thing. They may have disagreements over how best to get there, but a general disagreement about, the way the world should operate. Why I worry, though, is that we have become so siloized in this country, right? Living in our own realities, that there's too seldom overlap, a meeting in the middle. And our system reflects that, right? Compromise is a dirty word now on Capitol Hill. A whole host of causes to that, social media, but also gerrymandering, that I worry about our system's ability to solve big problems. I worry about that. Now, America's been in tough situations before and turned it around, and I have hope that we will, but it's going to take work, real work by all of us to do that.
Jim, thank you so much for joining us. And also on behalf of everyone at public television, thank you for the work you do every day at CNN. The book is called Madman Theory, Trump Takes on the World. Jim, and by the way, he's also a national best-selling author of The Shadow War, another great book. Jim, all the best to you and your family. Take care.
Great talking to you. I really appreciate the time.
Same here. I'm Steve Adubato. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, New Jersey Institute of Technology, the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, PSC&G, Summit City MD, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the Russell Berry Foundation, Valley Bank, and by United Airlines. Promotional support provided by AM 970 The Answer and by NJ.com.
Every day, nearly 2 million customers across New Jersey rely on PSC&G to provide natural gas. And every day, PSC&G is committed to doing it safely. That includes making sure you know what to do if you smell gas. A natural gas leak smells like rotten eggs. If you suspect a gas leak, leave your home immediately. Get far away, then call 911. Remember, smell, leave, call. Protect the ones you love. Learn more at pscg.com/gas safety.